The Hollow Quiet, a supernatural horror short story. The first sign that something was wrong in the village of Brackenford was the silence. Not the peaceful kind that settles over a rural town in winter, but a hollow, unnatural quiet, as if the air itself were holding its breath. Birds stopped singing. Dogs refused to bark. Even the wind seemed to avoid the place, skirting around the crooked houses and frostbitten fields like a wary traveler. Elias Crow noticed it the moment he stepped off the bus. He had returned to Brackenford for the first time in 12 years, summoned by a letter written in his mother's shaky hand. "Come home. It's your father. He's not well." The letter had been dated 3 weeks earlier, but the postal stamp suggested it had been sent only days ago. That alone unsettled him. But the silence, that was worse. He walked the familiar road toward the house he had grown up in, boots crunching on the thin crust of snow. The sound seemed too loud, echoing strangely, as if the world around him were an empty shell. The houses he passed were dark, curtains drawn tight. No smoke rose from chimneys. No footprints marked the snow. Brackenford looked abandoned, yet he felt watched. The Crow house stood at the end of a narrow lane, its windows black, its roof sagging under years of neglect. Elias hesitated before knocking. The wood felt cold, colder than the air, as if something inside was draining the warmth from it. The door opened before he touched it a second time. His mother stood there, pale and thin, her eyes sunken. She looked older than her 58 years, as if something had hollowed her out from the inside. "Elias," she whispered. "You came." He stepped inside. The air was stale, heavy with the smell of damp wood and something metallic. The house was dim, lit only by a single lamp in the hallway. "Where is he?" Elias asked. Her gaze flicked toward the staircase. "Upstairs." "But he's not himself." Elias swallowed. "Is it dementia?" She shook her head slowly. "I wish it were." They climbed the stairs together. Each step creaked under their weight, the sound swallowed quickly by the oppressive quiet. At the end of the hallway, his parents' bedroom door was slightly ajar. His mother stopped. "He doesn't speak anymore." "Not with words." Elias pushed the door open. His father sat in a chair by the window, staring out at the snow-covered fields. His skin was grayish, stretched tight over sharp bones. His eyes, once warm and mischievous, were now black. Not dark brown, black, like ink, like the absence of light. "Dad," Elias whispered. The figure in the chair turned its head slowly, too slowly, as if the movement were unfamiliar. Its lips parted, but no sound came out. Instead, a faint clicking noise echoed from deep in its throat. Elias stepped back. His mother touched his arm. "It started after the quiet came." "The quiet?" She nodded. "The silence. It began in the woods. People heard things, whispers, footsteps. Then the animals disappeared. Then the people." Elias stared at her. "What do you mean, disappeared?" "They walked into the woods and never came back." He felt a chill crawl up his spine. "Why didn't you leave?" "We tried," she whispered. "But the road out, it loops. You drive for hours and end up right back here. The quiet won't let us go." Elias looked at his father again. The clicking grew louder, more frantic. The figure's hands gripped the arms of the chair, knuckles white. "Does he understand us?" Elias asked. "I don't know," she said. "But he listens. All the time. He listens to them." "Them?" "The ones in the quiet." Elias felt the air shift, as if the room itself were leaning closer. That night, he slept in his childhood bedroom, though sleep was a generous word for the restless drifting he managed. The silence pressed against the walls, thick and suffocating. Several times he thought he heard footsteps in the hallway, but when he opened the door, nothing was there. At 3:17 a.m., he woke to the sound of clicking. Not from the hallway, from under his bed. He froze. The clicking grew louder, faster, like an insect trapped in a jar. Slowly, he leaned over the edge of the mattress. 2 black eyes stared back at him from the darkness beneath the bed. He jerked away, heart pounding. The eyes blinked once and vanished. The clicking stopped. He didn't sleep again. In the morning, he found his mother in the kitchen, staring at the empty stove. "Did you hear anything last night?" he asked. She didn't look at him. "It's always worse at night. Mom, we need to leave. We need to get help." She shook her head. "The quiet won't let us." Elias clenched his jaw. "Then I'll go alone." She finally looked at him, her eyes full of a fear so deep it seemed bottomless. "If you try, it will follow you." He didn't care. He had to try. He borrowed his mother's car and drove toward the main road. The village passed by in a blur of empty houses and frost-covered fields. The silence pressed against the windows like a living thing. After 20 minutes, he reached the old stone bridge that marked the edge of Brackenford. Relief washed over him, until he crossed it, and found himself driving past the same crooked houses he had left behind. He slammed on the brakes. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." He turned around and drove the other way. 10 minutes later, he crossed the same stone bridge again. The quiet had folded the world around him like a trap. When he returned to the house, his mother was waiting on the porch. "It won't let you go," she said softly. "It wants you to listen." "To what?" She pointed toward the woods. "To them." Elias followed her gaze. The tree line loomed in the distance, dark and still. Something moved between the trunks. A flicker of shadow, too tall, too thin. That night, the clicking returned. This time, it came from the walls. Elias pressed his ear against the plaster. The sound was faint but unmistakable, whispering. Dozens of voices murmuring in a language he didn't recognize. The whispers grew louder, overlapping, rising in pitch until they became a single, shrill note. Then silence. A knock sounded at his door. He opened it. His father stood there, or what was left of him. The figure's limbs were too long, its spine bent at an unnatural angle. Its mouth hung open, jaw unhinged. Black eyes stared into Elias's. "Dad," Elias whispered. The creature clicked once, sharply. Then it turned and crawled down the hallway on all fours, moving with a jerky, insect-like gait. Elias followed at a distance. The creature stopped at the front door and pressed its ear against it, as if listening to something outside. Then it slowly opened the door and stepped into the night. Elias hesitated only a moment before grabbing a flashlight and following. The air outside was colder than before, biting at his skin. The silence was absolute. Even his footsteps seemed muted. His father, the creature, moved toward the woods. Elias followed. The trees swallowed him quickly, their branches arching overhead like skeletal fingers. The deeper he went, the darker it became, until the flashlight seemed to illuminate nothing but a small circle of dead leaves. Then he heard it. A whisper, soft at first like wind through grass, then louder, closer. "Elias," he spun around. "Who's there?" The whisper came again, from behind him. "Elias? Come listen." He backed away, heart hammering. The flashlight flickered. Something moved between the trees. Tall. Thin. Wrong. The creature stepped into the beam of light. Its skin was pale and stretched tight over a skeletal frame. Its limbs were impossibly long, fingers ending in sharp, black points. Its face was featureless except for a wide, lipless mouth and two hollow pits where eyes should have been. Tilted its head. Then it spoke. Not with its mouth, but with the voices of dozens of people, men, women, children, all speaking at once. "We are the quiet." Elias stumbled back. "What do you want?" The creature took a step forward. To be heard. The voices grew louder, overlapping, rising into a cacophony that made Elias's ears ring. He dropped the flashlight, hands pressed against his head. "Stop!" he shouted. The voices stopped instantly. The creature leaned close, its hollow eye sockets inches from his face. "You will listen." Elias felt something cold and sharp slip into his mind, prying it open like a door. Memories flashed before him. Childhood laughter, teenage arguments, the day he left Brackenford, all torn apart and rearranged by invisible hands. He screamed. The creature's mouth stretched into a grotesque smile. Now you hear us. The world went black. When Elias opened his eyes, he was lying in his childhood bed. Morning light filtered through the curtains. The house was silent. He sat up slowly. His mother stood in the doorway, smiling. "Good morning," she said softly. "How do you feel?" Elias opened his mouth to answer. A clicking sound came out. His mother's smile widened. "They chose you," she whispered, "just like they chose your father." Elias tried to speak again, but the clicking grew louder, echoing through the room. His vision blurred. The walls seemed to pulse, as if breathing. He stumbled to the mirror. The eyes that stared back at him were black. Completely, utterly black. Behind him, his mother placed a hand on his shoulder. "Don't fight it," she murmured. "The quiet is part of you now." Elias felt the whispers rising inside his skull, filling every corner of his mind. He tried to scream, but only clicking came out. Outside, the woods stirred. The quiet had found its new voice.